Yo, what up? It's your boy Face from Flight School TV, and I'm here with my good guy Ando from Black Cactus. You know what I'm saying? So basically, can you explain to the people what you do here?
Yeah, man. Black Cactus, we started like 3 years ago. It's basically like a platform for us to do all the stuff we want to do with brands. So we basically, Black Cactus, we print for all different kinds of companies, from streetwear brands to like corporate companies like UPS and the Hyatt in the city and stuff like that. So there's a wide range of people that we print for. And that kind of has our business foundation, so that we can also have our own brands that we sell out in the store and stuff like that.
Right, because me and you met at the Tiger Talks.
Yeah.
And that was a dope experience in itself. But I'm glad we did get a chance to network at that event, man. Because coming out here to your location in Batavia, it's a real dope place, man. And y'all definitely got to come out here and check it out. You know what I'm saying? So, like, what's your address to this place?
We're at 11 East Wilson, right downtown on Wilson Street here at Wilson and River. So it's a nice spot because, you know, Batavia is kind of up and coming as far as businesses coming to the area. And, you know, we're just bringing some more like artistic culture to this town in particular. So it's been cool, man. Everything's been coming together nice.
Yeah, because like my first impression when I came out here, I'm like, man, y'all in the area where it's like nothing, it's like no competition around you.
Yeah.
And it seems like as I've been out here filming and everything, it's constantly people walking past.
Yeah, there's a lot of traffic, man, and it's cool because as far as it relates to like the Chicago streetwear culture, you know, we're like 10 minutes down the street from the Aurora outlet, so if people come out to Nike to pick up clothes or whatever, it's cool that they got a spot, you know, 10 minutes away that they can come stop at before they head back to the city. So so that's definitely cool, like location wise.
So one thing that stands out about Black Cactus Print House is the fact that you guys don't carry one brand. It's this, when people, you guys have your personal brands, but it's 3 brands, right?
Yeah, it's 3 brands. Yeah.
Like what made you go on that route as far as like creating products for your store? Like a lot of people, you'll see it, they'll have one brand, and that's the brand they stick with. But you got 3 in-house brands.
Yeah. So the 3 in-house brands was really the first brand, Zanzoto. We started about 5 years ago, and that was just kind of like the best ideas we could put into that brand. And then as the brand started to develop more, and you know our skills and my skills of making a cohesive brand, then the idea came up to introduce some more. So we started the 2 new brands. There's one brand called Sangfroid, which I do with my buddy Tyler Schwartz. He's a tattoo artist, super talented dude. And so we decided to come together and make that brand. So now that's kind of our more high price point. We spend more money on the garments, we spend more money on the whole process, so those clothes cost a little bit more. And then we have our other brand, Tap Water, for sale. And Tap Water is the newest of the 3 brands that I did with my guy Adam Zanani, who's a tattoo artist as well. And so teaming up with those tattoo artists was dope for me, because I'm more of like a director type of designer where you know I do the design work, but if I have somebody who can illustrate, I know I get to focus more on things that I'm really dope at. So teaming up with illustrators for me, rather than just having somebody go do the design, I still want to design it, but I want somebody whose hand is right for the illustrations. And then also Tyler and Adam, who I do those brands with, they're both got dope ideas in themselves, you know, and so just that whole collaborative process is dope for me, because you know I get more flavor from somebody else, so that it's separate from our original brand Zanzoto, which is really just my brand. So it definitely makes sure that each brand, if you're shopping with one brand, it's because you like that flavor, and they're all different flavors and different price points at some, you know, in some cases. So
yeah, no, I definitely co-sign that. Each brand can stand in its own lane, independently.
Yeah.
So like, I want to get a breakdown of the creation of the name of each brand that you just named, starting with you said Zanzoto.
Yeah. So Zanzoto was that was like 5 years ago, and at the time I was doing music a lot, and so the way the name Zanzoto came up was like I was making beats and rapping, but when I was making beats, I noticed that people didn't want my beats because they knew me as a rapper, and they saw that as like, oh, he's doing too much or something. So one time I just put a fake name on one of the beats, and all of a sudden people were like, yeah, I want that one now.
But that's the thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so once I said, hey, this is some other guy doing this, and I just got a connection to it, then they went with it. So I started thinking of more like, oh, I'm gonna put this next beat out under this name.
Yeah.
And then I was like, the next guy I do, I want it to be, I want his first name to be Xan. And it wasn't like a Xanax thing at all. And this is before that became like a trend within the culture, you know. But I just like the way it sounded as like a first part of the name. And then the Zoto part came from messing with the word unorthodox. Because I'm not so technical with my designs. I just kind of figure out how to do it, and if it looks dope, I go with it.
That's like how I do my interviews.
Exactly, man. Yeah. So you figure it out, and that's when you get something that can't be recreated. You know? So
it's natural.
Yeah. So you flip unorthodox backwards, and somewhere in there you get the Odo or Zoto type thing. If you flip the word backwards. So then I was like, all right, Xan Zoto, and we just went with it.
That's a dope name, honestly. It just flow off the tongue well.
Yeah, and that's another thing I realized too, even like with Black Cactus, that if it's a brand name that people want to say just so they could talk about it and it's fun to say, that doesn't
similar
hurt,
to like Fat Tiger. You know what I'm saying? Like people, Fat Tiger, like what is Fat Tiger? It's just one of them things that you will hear and just wonder like what it is.
Exactly.
You'll be intrigued. So then the next brand was
Sangfroid. Yeah, so Sangfroid came up. Sangfroid was a concept that I kind of sat on for a couple years, but it came. I learned about that word through reading Ryan Holiday and Robert Greene, the guy who wrote the 48 Laws of Power. Just reading all the different pieces that they did, and somewhere along that reading, I think Ryan Holiday talked about Sangfroid, and it's how it's just a concept of like keeping your calm in the most extreme climate and the most extreme situation being the
right.
So it's a French word, and like the direct translation is cool blood. But really it's a concept that they would teach to like astronauts and stuff, because if you're in space and if you panic or stress a little bit, if you the wrong move and panic, you just don't get to come home type thing.
Exactly.
Once I started reading about that, I like got fascinated with it, and then I started practicing it as running a bit like the Black Cactus, as building that as a company. I mean, starting any company is not easy, so I got to practice that brand I wanted to do, and if the money's tight and you still got to work twice as hard.
Don't fold under that pressure.
Yeah, and you get something for that. You definitely get rewarded for keeping your cool, because a lot of people will panic and say, running a business isn't for me. I'm gonna go back to this spot.
Quick to give
get
up.
my money back. Yeah, so. But it pays off, man, when you stick through that stuff. So then the designs that came from that same Freud name, from our first release, we have a polar bear, and then we have this cool lobster design, and the lobster's got like the bands around his claws. And so both of those two designs kind of fall right into that brand.
I like that one, man.
So
I'm gonna be buying that one, man. Y'all will see me in that shirt real soon.
The lobster joint, yeah, man.
Yeah, that's tough, man.
Yeah.
So is this one, you know what I'm saying? But we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to these. But the last one was Tap Water.
Yeah.
Like, what's the thought process behind creating a brand called Tap Water?
So Tap Water is me and Adam Zanani. We knew we wanted to do a brand together. We didn't have a name yet, but we started going back in with ideas and stuff like that. And just through talking to each other and kind of complimenting each other's work, we realized that like his art style is very comparable to like Jean-Michel Basquiat, and my being like a screen printer and a designer in that realm, I had a lot of Andy Warhol type qualities within my work.
Both amazing artists.
Yeah, and they did collab work together and stuff too. So we kind of dug into that route once we started realizing that, and we saw that they both had something in common, which was that they were making something out of nothing. And taking things that you can see on the street, and then if this guy picks it up and touches it, now it's worth a bunch of money. And we took that concept, and then now looking at the brand being called Tap Water for Sale is like, this is something you guys all got at home. But if you get it from us, it's a little bit doper, And then so we took that concept as far as the name goes with the Tap Water for Sale thing, and then you could definitely see within our pieces though that you see that reflection of the people who you know, influenced us to design. You definitely see those similarities, but one thing I wanted to make sure when we started doing that is I didn't want it to be like these guys are, you know, taking a Basquiat piece and putting it on a shirt. It's this guy's influenced by him, this guy's influenced by Warhol.
Yeah, you can see the influence, but it's not copy and paste.
Yeah, it's like, you know, this is what modern day, this is what I think it should be.
Yeah, like. This is how I would interpret his art.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it seemed like with the tap water, it seemed like and a lot of people, I feel like a lot of brands look over this aspect. A lot of times it's not about like this big logo or these big pictures. Sometimes simplicity is key.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
more and more.
Yeah, like less is more. You know what I'm saying? In a lot of situations. That's what I take away from the tap water. You know what I'm saying? It's like less is more in that situation where it can be a simple design but it say a lot. You know what I'm saying? When I first heard tap water, I was just thinking, oh man, it's like something for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can have this. You know what I'm saying? Like tap water.
Yeah.
So let's just rewind a little bit because we gave the people the information of where we actually are right now, where we're sitting at right now. But like I want to talk about what led to this point, like what drove you to the fashion lane, because you said that you did music. So where did fashion really fit in that equation with you? Where was the first sign that you noticed, like, man, you know what, I like this fashion thing? Even before the creation aspect of it, just you dressing yourself or things like that. When did you start caring about
really,
fashion?
like the music drove me to the city, because being out like in the, you know, Aurora area and the suburbs out here, there's a lot of people into it, but definitely not like the city. There's cultures in the city of people who are all day talking about that. So the music kind of led me out to meeting people like Tony Baines and Mike Hundreds and Vic Lloyd, who brought me around that Leaders crowd. And then from there, I saw that there is like a whole culture around like making clothes, selling clothes, and being into what's coming out and stuff. So once you see what's going on over at places like Leaders, and now, you know, leaking into Fat Tiger and all those places, that's when I was introduced to like, yo, rapping and streetwear are married to each other in Chicago.
And it's very like it's so similar to how Supreme was tied to the skateboard culture. And that's what in Chicago, like New York had Supreme before they sold the company. That was Supreme was New York skateboard culture. And in Chicago, we had Leaders that was basically very attached to all music in Chicago. It's kind of like the skateboarder culture. You know, it's a small group of people that run in those circles. If you skateboard, you be at these certain parks that you very familiar in that circle.
Exactly.
And that's what Leaders, Fat Tiger, like if you like into like the underground hip hop scene, and like you for instance, like a Chance the Rapper before he got famous, you know, Vic Mensa, all those guys, you know, they got like this little cult group. You know, it's just them doing their thing, and Leaders was directly attached to them like Supreme was to the skateboarder. So speaking, like, man, that's pretty dope, because a lot of people don't see that correlation. You know what I'm saying? The hip hop with fashion and skateboarders with fashion.
And then also you see too, like hanging out at Leaders, that every time a rapper's in Chicago doing a show, he's making his rounds to those couple places. It's like, you know, as a rapper, where would you want to go when you're in a city besides somewhere to pick up some dope clothes? You can only get in that city as well. And
that's really part of the culture. You know what I'm saying? Some of these brands, they pop up and you just be like, where did this come from?
Exactly.
But a company like Leaders and the good guys behind Fat Tiger, you know, they really part of the culture in Chicago. So yeah, that's pretty dope. So that was when you being around doing your music and coming around Vic Lloyd and those guys, Mike, that was like your introduction, and like, man, you know what, like, I love doing this music, but this is also dope.
And I didn't really, it's not like I don't think I saw the streetwear thing and was like, oh, forget this.
It's just a natural thing that
I think after some time you just start looking at what's for you, you know, like what is, where do you think you're gonna have more fun in that lane. And so I think over time it just kind of leaked its way over to where the designing clothes, and then, you know, trying to do your research and figure out some ways to get ahead of the game and know a little bit more than people do. And that's what really led us to doing the print company, because I was at first all about like, all right, well, how do I make that shirt better? How does that shirt get better when you're really anybody doing a brand at the beginning? You're just picking a company to print on and then getting a designer to give you design and then a screen printer. And so from the start, I definitely wanted to have all the control I could. You know, like I want to know how to print. I want to know why it's printed certain ways and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I was telling you off camera, I had, you know, we had flight school merch attached to what we do, and it was like a growing pain process of trying to figure out like which type of shirt do I want to print it on, because people see a white T-shirt and just be like, oh, it's printed on a white T-shirt. No, like it's levels to the white T-shirt. And that, like when you get in the game, like to actually become like, whether you attach your merchandise or on your side of the business, you really start to learn that like it's not just you can get gilded, you know, what's the Bay, is it Baya?
The Bella and Canvas. American Apparel.
It's just like, so it's levels. People got to understand it's levels to a white T-shirt. Like, and so understand like when you shop with a company, you always want to pay attention to quality, because I don't want you to get beat for your money. You know what I'm saying? So definitely, you know what I'm saying, check the quality of the shirts that you purchase, and then just don't be out here blind. Understand that there's different levels to this. So when you shop at Black Cactus, just understand when you walk in here, you're dealing with some people that understand that part. You know what I'm saying? And you won't have to worry about your shirt fading and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? You can get a lot of washes out your joint.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? So like what was the first shirt you designed? Do you remember?
The first shirt I designed before the design stuff was for the music. I was like putting things together, making my own merch. I had a group called Hurt Feelings Not Sorry. My boys, me, Black Matt, and Velo Dreamer had a little group, and so yeah, we made some of our merch for that. And then as far as the Zanzotto stuff, the early designs of Zanzotto were really more like we went for like a Greek feel. Did some like Greek type designs with that, and then a lot of just plain signature stuff. Because I think what actually drove me to designing at all was my natural like branding, my knack for branding. You know, figuring out like getting that one logo that people are going to notice and stuff. Digging deep into just, okay, well that's going to be our logo. Hopefully they take it that way. You know, looking at that. So I don't know. I was always driven towards branding and stuff like that.
That's important, especially like being an artist. You got to understand how to market yourself, so you can get the exposure that you're looking for. So that's probably something that you took away from doing your music, right?
Oh yeah. And the music, I think my experience in music is what really exposed that skill set to myself. You know, I had to go through that process, and then, you know, changing your rap name, and then having those different producer names. You see that it makes a big difference, man. Especially when a new rapper comes out. You know, when you hear his name, you probably judge him off that before anything.
Facts.
You know,
with the rap name and the cover art, it's like very important. You know what I'm saying? Like
important.
To people that never heard of you, they, like when I first heard like a Tekashi 6ix9ine, I'm like, what the fuck is a Tekashi? Like I never heard that before.
And it could go both ways, because it could either just make you either don't necessarily like it, but you want to know what.
You want to know like what's to this.
So you go after it. So that's one aspect of it, and then also sometimes if they got a name like we were saying with Zanzotto, if it's a name people just like to say, they're gonna end up listening to that.
Right. So like as far as like you being in the fashion lane, what actually drove you to owning a store and actually getting on the other side of the shirts to where you go from paying somebody to print your shirts to actually doing it yourself?
So that came from a handful of different situations. One, I met my business partner, he's got a bunch of tattoo shops. He's got like 10 different businesses and stuff, and then he just kind of saw me grinding and saw me doing stuff and saw that I really was paying attention to the right aspects of everything. So teaming up with him was where we were like, okay, let's let's make some money out of this so we don't have to work a job and do that. And that was the big thing for me, is building that like financial foundation, which was good and bad. I mean, good in the long run, where eventually, you know, that print shop is going to cover the bills so that I could just design without any pressure of having to go leave and go clock in somewhere and stuff. So that was definitely the draw to it long term. And the short term of it was, you're going to have to put a lot of time and effort into that print company. You don't just start it up and then go keep designing, because then you got two things that aren't making enough money, you know? So I had to take these past 3 years especially, and just focus on making sure that company grows and is well nourished, so that it actually brings money to the table, and then, you know, with what's left over, we can take that and put it into the brands, and eventually have a bunch of success on it.
Right. So what would you say, like, since you've been in the fashion lane and doing your thing here, what would you say is some of the challenges you face that you would, like, if you can rewind time to tell your younger self, to be like, hey, watch out for this shit, like, it's a bumpy road right there, like, be careful. Like, what were some of those things you experienced so far that you wish that you knew back then?
I think the biggest thing is that took a while to really sink in for me is the actual business of everything, because I think everything you get into starts with like, that looks attractive, like being a rapper, being an artist. That lifestyle looks attractive.
Fun.
That's the first thing that'll kind of get you to
get
start
in the
asking
game.
questions. And then a lot of people don't realize that you know, they just keep making songs until people like their songs so much, but they don't look at, like, you know, you have to make money off this stuff. Like, how are you going to
pay for studio time or studio equipment?
And then also a lot of artists will just, I'm just going to be so good at rapping that I'll have a team of people. Well, that team of people comes at a price, man. Yeah. And so a lot of people don't realize it is a business, and you got to know that there's so many positions, and if you're one of the smart guys, you know that you could probably do 4 or 5 of those roles yourself and not have to make a deal for somebody else to take a big chunk out of what you do. So that, as far as music and the clothing brand stuff too, you know, like with like our brands, there's a lot of expenses we don't have because we know how to print, we know how to design, and we know how to do that stuff. So the more well-rounded you make yourself in whatever lane you're going to be, you're just going to have so much more success and rewards because of that. So going backwards, I would have probably told myself earlier on, learn it all, and don't say I just want to be the guy designing and then I'll go get somebody for this and this. Learn everything, because then even later you can get somebody, but if you know it, you're gonna get someone that exactly.
You can't get beat.
You don't have to trust somebody to, that's how it's supposed to look. Okay, well, you're my guy who does that. You know, having that knowledge of it is very key.
Yeah, I totally agree, because I feel like a lot of people should be as self-sufficient as possible. Like, as much as you can do on your own, you should maximize that. Now, we all get to a point where we need help, whether it's financial or just connections, you know, but maximize what you are able to do, and then find someone to help you with the rest. And that's I think that's a strong lesson for somebody to take away from us talking, definitely. So there's just on other things outside of what we're doing here at Black Cactus, like, how do you feel about the fashion scene in Chicago? And I'll provide a little context to that question. Like, when I say that, I'm basically referring to, you know, we got Vic Lloyd, Joe Fresh, Rello, and those guys over at Fat Tiger. We got Leaders, Corey Diego. We got Boneyard Chicago. We got Success. We got Iridium. You know, it's just so many things. Don C, you know, Jasper. Like, everything these guys are doing is like everything that's moving. Even as you can go to slang, Chicago slang, or Chicago style of rap. You know, I always ask this question: do you feel like Chicago get the respect it deserves, and how do you feel about the scene overall?
I don't think it gets the respect it deserves, but I think that this is all a growing process for any booming industry in one certain area. Like, Chicago is always trying to get itself up to the New York, LA level, and I think that's happening right now. Like, the streetwear scene for a while, as far as I've been paying attention to it, has been very interesting, and the people within that scene love it. They love being a part of it. So more people are starting to get. I mean, as time goes by and a couple more people come, then they got their 5 friends who all jump in.
Yeah.
That's definitely helping. And then now you have things like you mentioned, the big guys, the Virgils and Don C's, and then think people like Joe Freshgoods, what he's doing right now and becoming, he's changing the way people are doing stuff a little bit and doing stuff that nobody really did, as far as I know about. So when that kind of stuff happens, you see that it lets everybody who's in the scene know this can get a lot bigger,
right?
Which is very exciting for anybody, doing a brand in Chicago. And then I think it's just going to make more people who didn't see Chicago as a destination before. And now you got Complex Con coming and stuff like that. So
it's like we started to get those looks.
I think it's happening for Chicago, and now it's just kind of up to all the players in Chicago to figure out what role am I going to play as this gets big. But that's super exciting, man. It's something that as a designer gets me very excited to know that these guys and all their hard work is kind of bringing a spotlight to this area to where we're now, we can all reap the benefits of what they did. And that's always been that way. You have those couple guys who kind of pave a way and open up the stage for other guys to do their thing. And that's why, like we talked about off camera, it's very important that people are paying homage to the Corys and the Vics, who did something that wasn't really there before.
Yeah, because a lot of times the guys that take all the bumps and bruises early on, a lot of times
and probably look crazy.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like they get beat up in the early stages, then forgot about later. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it's definitely important to acknowledge a lot of these guys, because if we don't, I feel like they'll almost be forgotten.
Yeah, but I think a lot of them are all great teachers too, and guys like Vic especially, he's like the real big homie sensei, man. He showed a lot of people a lot of tips and a lot of ways to go about it. So I think as long as the creators themselves know they got this from that guy, I think that will make its way to the consumers as well, where the conversation comes up and the people who are producing those products and stuff like that, if they know it, I think it should translate, but who knows? Right.
And if you guys are not familiar with who we're talking about, you can definitely check out the Vic Lloyd interview that's on Flight School TV YouTube channel, and just check out his story. That's basically what we do here. We bring the story behind the brands so that you can understand who you're shopping with, and a lot of times it will make people want to shop more with this company once they find out it's genuine. I feel like genuine connections with people is very important, and sharing the stories behind these brands is very important. Because you look at big companies all the time, like Nike, the sneakers app. If you go on the sneakers app right now and tap on, let's just say, upcoming Jordan, they give you an entire story of that shoe. Whether it's a new shoe or it's an OG release, it's a story attached to that. And big companies like Nike understand the importance of sharing the story of a brand,
and I think
because it sells it.
That's something that's coming up a lot more in streetwear too, and I think now there's got to be a face with it. There has to. Who's the designer behind this is starting to be a more common question.
Yep.
Where you have the DBM Joe relationship, and knowing who's behind what. And just certain designs that may do really well, like Verdi behind the Girls Don't Cry stuff. When you see that relationship, it's kind of cool. It kind of me going from rap to designing. It kind of went from hiding behind a brand to now oh no, people want to know who's doing this, And so that was cool to see that correlation between those things.
Right. So, how would you describe the customer of a Black Cactus? Is there a specific, or is it just for everybody?
For Black Cactus, each brand definitely has its own demographic of people who are gonna rock with that. Like Tap Water, I think is definitely more of a skatewear type thing, where skaters and people with maybe specific music tastes and stuff. It's something that's a little more outside the box. And then Zanzoto has got a really wide demographic, and St. Freud at a higher price point might be limited off to that spending wise, but then the designs themselves are very universal.
Yeah.
As far as Black Cactus's demographic, there's really no limit to it, man. Like really nothing at all, because you know, we've got everybody from like large corporate clients, big breweries between, you know, anywhere in Illinois, all the way down to somebody trying their very first try at a clothing line. And then also clothing lines that are already successful, like Fig Lloyd.
Right.
And printing for every range of people. It's funny to see how the guys early on will come in, usually asking the same kind of questions. And trying to make sure certain things are in certain places, and then there's other people, you know, you learn, because ordering clothes itself, that's a part of the streetwear game big time.
Yep.
Knowing how to place those orders, and I'll go to this guy for this and this guy for that. That's a huge part of the game, and it costs a lot of money to learn that. You know, if you don't do it right, you could end up spending a lot of money on the wrong product. And I think that's another reason that will make somebody say this isn't for me. But you got to know that going in, man. That's definitely one of the skills you need to build as a brand owner. Is how, like, placing that order isn't just what you do before the game starts. That's part of the game.
Yeah.
You know?
So how did the Vic Lloyd collaboration come about?
The Vic collab, like I was saying, I hung out at Leaders and would drive out to the city just to go get some clothes and be around those guys. And so he was always, you know, my point of contact at Leaders and stuff like that. And then as, you know, the different Fat Tiger shops were opening and stuff, I would always be going there and saying what's up to him there. And then I let him know, you know, I'm printing now. I got this print company now. And at first he was like, okay, cool, I'll keep it in mind. And then, you know, I started bringing him some samples, and I know we like specialize in discharge printing, which isn't super common among screen printers. So once I brought him that, he was like, all right, we'll give it a try. And then since then we've been doing a handful of printing for him over the past couple of years. So that's really cool. And then the collab came. I think that just came from him seeing me, you know, at first giving it a try with the streetwear, and then getting a little more serious, and then to the point where I'm really digging in deep. Now I want my hands on everything, the design, the print, all that. So then we did our first collab about a year ago. The collection was called Big Homie Zoto, because he's got the Big Homie Sensei brand, and then I got his Ando Zoto. So we did that collection, and that's like one of my favorite things I've done before. So that was super cool. And then coming in this spring, summer, me and him got something we're working on where there's not really going to be a brand attached to it. It's just going to be 86 Ando times Vic Lloyd. And I think that collab is going to be cool, because we're going to have to, we don't have to stay in the flavor of that brand. We get to just kind of make something dope at any you know, length we want to go to with it. So, that's going to be exciting to do that collab.
Well, you know, I want to definitely, we're going to take a break. We're going to check out the rest of this environment that they got over here at Black Cactus Print House, and we'll be right back. So right now, we behind the scenes at Black Cactus, and my boy Ando about to show us what go on back here. So, man, I see that y'all created a little vibe back here.
Yeah, man. We got some dope art on the walls from my boy Adam, and then so here's our dryer. That's where every shirt that gets printed here is all going through this thing. So we had to get a vent hooked up to get all the fumes out and everything like that. But yeah, we got a couple little, it's a small like one station press. That you could print up to 4 colors on, a little flash unit for certain print jobs. Right here we got like this is a 6 color 4 station press, so you can print 4 shirts at a time, up to 6 colors per shirt. So this is like the majority of it, but yeah, we're doing all like manual presses still. And then once you get to a certain point, you'll buy automatic presses, and they kind of do the work for you. So for now, with all the volume that we do, we're still pushing the squeegees with our own hands and stuff. So it's definitely all very handmade, hands-on type thing.
So I see you got other stuff over here too.
Yeah, man.
So I'm assuming you either design right here or take orders or something?
Yeah, man, this is where a lot of the like communication between somebody coming and place an order with me. This is kind of the station that lets me translate all that to my printer. My homie Brennan, who does all the print work back here. This is the kind of the station where everything gets translated. So I'll put the artwork together for them. I'll explain to them they want 60 of these with the red and black, and then these ones with the white and black or whatever. So this is the station that like kind of makes the translation all happen.
That's what's
a
up.
cool little backdrop.
Yeah, I noticed you got the backdrop, you got the Betty Boop right there. You know what I'm saying? But it seemed like it just catch your eye when you walk in. I'm like, man, I'm thinking it's like a model display to just the shirt, but then as I look closer, I'm noticing like it's signatures on it. You know what I'm saying?
This
like
is our famous little mannequin lady. She usually wears whatever our favorite fit is. We done in the last little bit. Right now, she's wearing this Keith Haring joint that we did from Zanzoto, and then she's got some autographs around her neck. She's got Danny Trevathan from the Chicago Bears, Javi Baez from the Cubs, and then King Louie. King Louie came by our first shop and shot a music video, and then Javi Baez and Danny Trevathan both get tattooed by my boy Tyler, who does the same for a brand with me. So they came by. They definitely both got some clothes to go home with and stuff.
That's dope, man.
And there's plenty of pictures of Javi wearing Zanzoto, so that was definitely a good look for him coming, hanging out and everything.
Yeah, it's dope when you see like Chicago players, athletes actually supporting the Chicago brand, you know what I'm saying? Because we need more of that. I would say we definitely need more of that. But man, like I wish you continued success, man. I like everything that y'all got going. I like everything that y'all doing, and I know, like man, it's definitely a hit. You know what I'm saying? I haven't seen anything that was trash, and I can honestly say that I haven't seen anything that was trash.
I appreciate it.
It's pretty dope, man. And make sure that y'all get in tune with what's going on. We in Batavia, Illinois, Black Cactus Print House with my boy 86 Ando. Look them up on Instagram, follow their movement, and get in tune with what's going on, man. It's Flight School TV, and we out.